What's up everybody? In this video we're going to talk about how you can use science to improve faster at Jiu Jitsu. And this is something we studied a lot at Haven BJJ. We want to make the ultimate training session. Now, when you first start training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu with us, most people do the introduction course. There you get a nice overview of the main positions of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But when people go to the regular classes or the fundamentals classes, they feel a little bit overwhelmed because we're always working on two positions every class. And every week we switch the two positions. And a lot of gyms, they will do a position of the month or a position of the week where they dive really deep into one position and then move on to the next. Now, in this video, I'll explain why our method is, according to science, the better way to learn Jiu Jitsu and to improve. Okay, so the three main concepts: retrieval of knowledge, spaced learning, and interleaved learning. Now, first, let's talk about retrieval of knowledge. When you learn something, when you read through it for the first time or you see it for the first time, it's not going to stick. What's going to make things actually click for you, what's actually going to make things stick to your knowledge, is retrieving the knowledge. That's why in school you have to do exams. Just reading through it is not enough. You have to retrieve the knowledge, go back to it. And by switching the positions every week, you run through all of the positions in every few weeks. So you did close guard 1 week, and a few weeks later you already have to retrieve it. And by retrieving, the knowledge actually sticks. So that's the first concept. Second concept is spaced practice. You might remember this from your school days, or if you're still studying, you might still do this, where you just try to cram everything in the night before the exam. And when you do this, you get a kind of understanding of it, but after a few weeks you're gonna forget everything. Now, if you're spacing the practice, if you're working close guard 1 week and then you work it again in a few weeks, the knowledge is going to stick a lot better. Again, because you're retrieving it, but also because there's space between the practices. So spaced learning, other super important concept to improve in Jiu Jitsu faster. Third concept is that of interleaved learning. Doing multiple positions, multiple teams at the same time. Because again, if you really focus on one thing for a while, you're going to think that you mastered it. But if you get thrown into the reality of Jiu Jitsu, you're doing sparring or you're doing competitions, now you only know this one position really well, but you don't know how that fits into the rest of the game. Whereas if you're working on multiple positions each week, let's say you're doing both close guard and side control, and the next week you do a half guard and back mount, you're constantly differentiating between the different positions. So when it's time to actually spar, you're going to be able to differentiate between the positions a lot easier. So you, instead of doing the same thing in close guard and back mount, you know, now I'm in back mount, I have to focus on this, whereas in close guard I have to focus on this. So you learn how to differentiate the positions when it actually counts, instead of just getting really good at something very specific, which doesn't hold any value in actual sparring or actual competitions. Right? If you want to learn more about these concepts, I can recommend the book Make It Stick. How does that look practically? Let's say we have two identical twins, Bob and Jim. Bob trains at Haven BJJ. After 8 months, he's worked through about any position in Jiu Jitsu: mount, back mount, close guard, half guard, open guard. He worked through all of them and 2 positions every week. Whereas Jim, he went to another gym where they have a team of the month. So for 1 month, he's working close guard, he's getting a really good triangle. Next month, they're working back escapes and he's getting really good at back escapes. Now, when they roll after those 2 months, Jim actually stands a good chance to beating Bob because Jim is specialized in the triangle. But if he can't get to close guard, Bob's gonna beat him up because he knows a lot more positions than Jim does. And if we go further a year, Jim will most likely have forgotten the triangle because it's been 11 months since he last worked the triangle, whereas Bob is constantly revisiting the knowledge he already had. He did close guard this week, he's gonna do close guard in 4 weeks again, he's gonna retrieve that knowledge, and it's gonna stick a lot better than if he would just focus on one position for the entire month. So after a year, Bob's gonna swipe the floor with Jim, even though Jim might be really good at the position of that month, like maybe he's doing half guard, he might have a good half guard, but general Jiu Jitsu knowledge, general skill of Jiu Jitsu, Bob is gonna have the big overhand. Okay, so that's how the scientific ideas look practically. Now, what are your takeaways? If you're building your own training sessions, if you're going to open mats, for example, or to our pro training, try to interleave your knowledge, interleave your learning. So don't just focus on close guard for the entire month, but work a little bit on passing, a little bit on close guard, a little bit on back mount. Work on multiple things at the same time. So you get that retrieval of knowledge, you get that spaced learning, and you get that interleaved learning idea. And the other big takeaway, of course, is if you don't already, come train with Haven BJJ. You can try out a free class and you can experience the scientific approach for yourself. Okay, thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.